what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I said I cured cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We ended cancer as we know it.
Quickest fact check ever in the history of Wake Up Mid-Missouri at 6:08. We are 23 seconds into the show. Despite what the president told you yesterday, we have not cured cancer. Good morning. Welcome into the show.
That is, it's offensive, but more offensive for all the people in my life who are currently, engaged in a battle with cancer, to hear the president talk about it in such like a flippant way and be like, well, we've cured that.
John, can you fact check my fact check on Biden? That we did not, despite what he said yesterday, we've not cured cancer, have we? Cool. All right.
I wish we had.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people who pray about that every day, but to talk about it like that's just wrong.
We cured cancer. We didn't do that. By the way, so there's some red meat for you. Every morning, right about this time, we say, here's what's going on with the administration. Is Hunter Biden is getting ready to go into a courtroom today. There's more developments regarding this Hunter and Joe thing.
I'm starting to lean toward your side. McCarthy's all over it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you should have. Did you place a bet on this?
I should. Hannah, did I bet on this? Did I bet a week's worth of your salary yet?
We need to.
It's hard to remember. I lose track because you do it so often.
We need to get a big calendar where you like bet on what day the baby's gonna come. You know, I want a date from you,
like
Branden.
Football pool.
Yes, exactly. I need a specific date, and then then we can face off in that way.
I can bet on sports. Can I bet on politics in Missouri?
No, you can't.
All right.
Just for funsies.
But you're right. There's more and more people. And here's why I say new developments. Again, they're about, hey, we got to look at impeaching Joe. I don't know how that works if you're going after Joe Biden for things that he may have allegedly done. And all evidence continues in growing volumes, continues to point to the Bidens were doing something. But can Joe be impeached for something that he did when he wasn't president? I don't know the answer to that question. But here's the other thing is these other news networks, CBS, USA Today. Fox has been on this for a long time.
Yep.
And now the other folks are starting to say, maybe there's something to this, CNN.
I've still not seen a smoking gun on this case. I think there are legitimate questions about where Hunter Biden was getting his money from. Clearly, he was only getting his money because his last name was Biden. But what's been missing is that definitive link to the president, to his father.
So they're saying there's some stuff, but we can't link him to the dad. So now they're acquiescing a little bit. CNN said, well, there's probably some stuff there, but we can't link him to his dad.
Well, do you have any conspiracy theories about this? Because if everyone else is starting to glom on too, but they've ignored it this whole time, have they decided maybe they don't want Joe as their candidate, and now they're coming to that realization?
Like, hey, maybe we should I would say the Joe Biden attack boat, but it's not even an attack. It's facts.
But they'd be stupid to do that, honestly, because who would they have after him?
Kamala?
I mean, if they take him out, they have nobody.
RFK Jr.?
Oh, well, that's
Who was on? By the way, he was on with Hannity last night on Fox.
He was.
And last week we got in a big debate over whether he was actually a kook or whether he said some stuff that I can agree with. I mean,
Sure.
really.
Yeah.
But I think the overwhelming consensus is that he's a kook.
As a matter of fact,
Careful. You know what happened to Jennifer last week, Stephanie.
Not everyone agrees that he's a kook, but
Harris Faulkner yesterday on Fox actually gave some kudos to Joe Biden. It has to do with a story that Stephanie Bell actually covered in the Daily D.C. Rundown. It's something we do every day. She brings it to you every day, 625. Just hear some of the things happening in D.C. And Harris Faulkner kind of praised Joe Biden. And since we toss that red meat right about this time every morning, not attacking Joe, just presenting facts. We have a good friend in the Columbia Public School District who thinks whenever you bring up facts about how poorly the Columbia Public School District is, it's attacks. Like, no, these aren't facts. They're not attacks. These are just facts. And I want to highlight that for you because I thought it was kind of cool. It has to do with the Emmett Till dedication yesterday. And Harris Faulkner actually kind of praised Joe Biden. And I want to do that to show that we are F and B, man. We're fair and balanced sometimes. Back to the Biden cancer comment. Biden, I want to make sure everybody is clear on this morning.
That's why, and we can. We end the cancer as we know it.
We did not, despite what the president told you yesterday, we did not end cancer. Now, the hard thing with Joe Biden, he messes his words up all the time, and so do I. I mess him up all the time. I get it. I want to go back to Alex Rodriguez on ESPN. He's doing some batting practice demonstrations, and he said something, and I don't think he intended this, but I just thought it was interesting.
So in batting practice, I'm coming at the ball from here, posture up, and right down. You can't get in trouble. It's like you're punching a little person, right? With your right hand. It's going boom.
I'm sure Alex Rodriguez, Marsh, he didn't mean, he doesn't believe in punching little people. He doesn't believe that at all. He was just talking.
Yeah, it depends what team they play for.
He's just trying to explain something, and when you're in the moment, so I do that just sometimes. That happens. But when it happens on a daily basis, like it does with the president of the United States, we're not making fun of the way he talks, that is an indicator of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is the guy is simply not qualified to be president. He had a loss in court yesterday. Federal judge struck down Biden administration's asylum policy for migrants. Now, this is interesting because we had a guest yesterday, John, that actually talked about this a little bit. Rob Law was on the show. He's an immigration. Immigration expert, and he actually covered this. So this is something that the Biden administration did, and actually, so it's a loss for Biden, but technically also a loss for conservatives because it loosens some policies in effect.
Yeah, and it's a similar policy that Trump put in when he was president. Yeah.
And so now I wonder, because you brought that up, and I'm going to go ahead and put on my tinfoil hat here because I'm being serious, Steph. Like you just said, CNN maybe and USA Today are going, yeah, maybe we don't want Joe to be president. That's how bad. That's the reality of what's happening right now. These aren't conservative talking points. These are facts. The economy. You can look at a million different indicators to why we're in dire straits right now. So,
well, it was Rob Law's take on it too. That the big angle on the people requesting asylum. His take on it was so many of them are illegally requesting asylum and are entitled to it.
So here's what I'm wondering. If the Biden administration, they pushed this through on a pretty weak premise to say, see, look, we did some stuff that Trump was doing, and they didn't tie up their loose ends, and that's why a judge said, yeah, no, this is not working. So I'm wondering if the Biden administration, when they put this policy forward, if they intentionally made it lax so they could say, see, we're trying to toughen up immigration, but a judge ruled against us.
It's an interesting way. It's very possible. I mean,
I'm blinded by the tinfoil hat.
I'll take
I like the hat. I do think that the Branden, what you played there, that soundbite with the president about cancer, I couldn't follow that. That was a little hard to follow. I do think that Congressman follow what he said. Congressman Jason Smith's been a real key player that has not gotten a lot of attention locally, but in this Hunter Biden investigation, he's been a big. With that whistleblower, Jason Smith is really from mid-Missouri, is at the center of that in many ways.
Went to school here at Mizzou on Fox and Friends the other morning.
It just shows what a bad position we were in. The two IRS whistleblowers highlighted that, in fact, the FBI knew of Hunter Biden's laptop in 2019.
So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's all pointing in a pretty consistent fashion. Is Hunter Biden. He is going to be appearing in a courtroom today. Good morning and welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Brian Hausworth, how hot's it going to be? And this is what happens in July in Missouri. But what's different about this is like basically an extended amount of time that we're going to be hitting about 100 or 100 plus.
About a week at least. And I talked to OSHA yesterday, and that's the actual temperature. So we're going to be about 101 today, 104 tomorrow, 104 the next day. OSHA is involved. They are actually the Shade, Rest, and Water putting their campaign together. And just reminding everybody, our employers and everybody out there, just make sure you stay hydrated. It is very dangerous, and it is extended too.
What is the current temperature like right now?
It's about, I could tell
85 right now.
I walked out, and it just felt soupy.
This morning, Hannah,
83 to be bottom 83. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. That's just unheard of.
Hannah came in this morning, and she was like, oh, "It's hot." This morning, I got up 2 o'clock this morning. Alexa, alarm goes off, and I said, Alexa, what's the temperature? She said, currently, it's 86 degrees.
Wow.
And I said, Alexa, what's the temperature for real? And she says, currently, the temperature is 86 degrees.
She didn't say 87 because we're rising pretty fast here.
And then I said, Alexa, are you kidding? And then she said, I'm sorry, I don't understand that question. There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
John Marsh is here.
Here, sir.
My name is Branden Rathert. Something we can do for you. 874-9390. 874-9390. So Hunter Biden is going to be in court today. More losses for the Biden administration. Is disgraced former Governor Eric Greitens again trying to get back
Where did he come from?
I don't know, man.
Back in the news. What?
Right. And he's and basically is what he's. I'll give you a little bit of a taste. He's saying DeSantis is not the guy, but he's got some of his facts wrong when he does it. So I'm wondering if he's trying to get back into politics here. Because
he just needs to go away.
Please.
I thought we were done with him.
Please. So, and here's the thing. You can love the policies of people because we like the policies. It's too much baggage. And I get it. People love him, and we loved his policies too. We knew there were problems even before he got elected. We knew this and said as much. Said it. And people would get upset. And then 18 months later, he's not the governor anymore. And I hate to sit here and say, well, we told you so. These things were going to come back and bite him. And then that's a black mark on the Republican Party of Missouri. Oh, yeah, we had a Republican governor who had to resign because he was in hot water.
Yeah, it's self over party and self over all else.
He's turning into a Hillary Clinton in the sense that he just doesn't go away. Just pops back up every once in a while.
Yeah, it's like, please, just be done. Harris Faulkner last night. This is a story that Stephanie Bell covered in the Daily DC Rundown about the Emmett Till dedication ceremony. Following that, Harrison Faulkner actually I don't want to play this here because now it sounds too much like we're praising Joe like twice in a matter of 10 minutes, and I don't want to do that. But that's not me saying it, and actually I do think it's important.
And I would just say this, and the president did acknowledge it somewhat, but often Democrats don't. We have come through the fire in this nation. We've come through prosperity, wars, and more. And we've done it together. We share this history together. So whenever somebody says that we can't get to the next place, remember days like this, what's possible in this country. We're the greatest nation on the planet. We can do amazing things, and we can do them together. God bless America.
By the way, I did not add the music. She's talking while they're playing the president out. And I thought she said some cool things. And she said, listen, the president said this. And she's right. We have overcome some things in our history over the years. And she says, together we'll prevail. And I hope that she is right. And it makes me feel good for 3 seconds. All right, let's do the Daily DC Rundown.
Well, Greitens might be wrong on some things with DeSantis, but there was some more big news out of the DeSantis camp.
The FBI. They had a 1023, which is the form they talk about, who says this is an informant that the FBI continues to use. We heard that there were payments to bribe, allegedly, the vice president at the time.
Kevin McCarthy, of course, Hunter and Joe, as Hunter gets ready to make a court appearance this morning. That's getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
And Fox apparently is on Hunter Biden watch. He is set to arrive, and they've got like a camera on the building. You know, he's going to have to actually drive or maybe have a driver. He can't just sit in the car in the Corvette with a bunch of hookers. That's not going to be a good look.
Can you imagine him rolling up in that picture we were talking about yesterday? And he's got the Corvette, a couple of hookers, and shades, and hat. I'm here for my court appearance. I'm the president's son. I get a special kind of justice.
It will be interesting to see whether the judge will accept his plea agreement. Of course, judges rarely throw out plea bargains, but yesterday, Jason Smith out of Missouri filed some court documents saying, hey, you should really consider all this other stuff that we're learning. At the same time, Kevin McCarthy actually talked about an impeachment inquiry, didn't say that he should act, that impeachment would take place, but the opening of the inquiry itself would allow them to get additional information and, quote, know the truth.
So here's what's going on with the impeachment stuff. They're saying, hey, there's only so much information we can get. And as we've heard from the IRS whistleblowers, people were slow walking this investigation anyway. They don't want you to know what the Bidens are doing. That's why they're slow walking this stuff. And everything we're seeing, whether it's IRS whistleblowers, potentially this Devin Archer who's going to be testifying, former board member of Burisma, also friends with Hunter Biden. He's going to be testifying on Monday. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and they're saying, well, impeachment would allow us to get even more information because people are not cooperating.
I think you're right, and I think I'm getting closer and closer to your side, and I do think we should pick a date on which you think Hunter Biden finally goes down. I want to know what your thoughts are. Also, big news out of the DeSantis camp yesterday. The big news is not that he was in a car accident, but he was in a car accident in Chattanooga. Apparently, 4 cars in his own motorcade, all government vehicles hit each other when traffic slowed. And I'm thinking, like, if you're in a government vehicle driving a presidential hopeful, you have like one job.
Drive.
Are you fired? Like, is one fender bender? Are you out, or are you just like the president's dog? You just keep biting people over and over, and you still get to hang out.
Raven Harrison joins us 7:10, and Hannah's got a great question for Raven. Who's the biggest liability in the Biden family right now? Is it Joe? Gosh. Is it Hunter? Or is it Major, the dog?
But the big news out of the DeSantis camp yesterday is he has officially cut a third of his campaign staff. That's 38 people. That, if you recall, we heard earlier that he had cut 10 people. This 38 number includes those 10, so it's 28 additional people. But everyone, the Democrats are obviously all saying this is a bad sign. This never happens. It means his campaign's in the dumpster. Even our former disgraced governor, Eric Greitens, is saying something similar.
As a matter of fact, coming up 6:35, we talked about one mid-Missouri town has a new interim police chief. We're covering that. And also what it is that Eric Greitens, I'm guessing he's trying to make a comeback into politics.
Oh, man.
But what he said about DeSantis is contradicting. It's kind of interesting what he had to say, and it proves the point, I think, in my mind. These Republicans, politicians, oftentimes they just talk out of their rear ends and they don't know the facts, and people scoop it up.
I mean, or DeSantis could be playing like an Elon Musk, right? And like playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. I mean, Elon...
He's duping us.
I don't know, but I think people... I mean, his polling numbers are...
Of our candidates. I am running for this country. And I think part of our mistake as Republicans is that we have been involved in litigating the grievances of the past, focused on issues that actually aren't at the top of the mind of Americans. I'm focused on actually reviving our missing national identity.
Do you agree with everything the presidential contender Vivek Ramaswamy just said? He said we are too busy about being worried about things in the past. And I have agreed with that. For example, the stolen election, things like that. And I don't hear so much of that anymore. But I agree with Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, get out of the past, get in the future, man. 874-9390. Well,
I think he's on a rocket ship right now. I mean, he's articulate, he's smart, and I think people are now that he's getting a bigger platform. I think a lot of people are in his camp.
And he's young.
Oh yeah,
he's young, and listen, there's balance between young youthfulness and the vigor, but yet the experience and the wisdom. A 23-year-old does not have the wisdom of a 52-year-old, nor does a 52-year-old have the vigor of a 23-year-old.
Touche.
I will still caveat my comments with the fact that I still don't think the guy is going to be the president. I don't think he's going to be the front runner, but I do think he has a very bright future.
Something in politics, maybe not 2024, maybe 2028, unless, of course, Josh Hawley is running in 2028. Another name we haven't heard. From Missouri politics, Eric Greitens. He's making news this morning. We're going to cover that. Raven Harrison, 710. Who's the Biden family member? It's causing the biggest problems. I say it's Hunter or Joe. Hannah says...
It's Major, the dog.
Major, one of the dogs. She's here at 7:10. And then 7:35, Missouri River Regional Library, Prop Library. They're joining us. What do they want to talk about, John?
They want to talk about a tax increase for property taxes to help fund some upgrades at their library complex.
And how will this go over like a Led Zeppelin?
I am
Cole County.
I don't know. You know, it's not insubstantial. I know their factoids they put out said the average homeowner could expect $70-some more a year in property taxes. So, I think that could resonate with some voters.
They're here 7:35. Also coming up at 8:50, there's something called My Easy MD, and there's a campaign that's actually airing on the stations right now, and it's healthcare, and it's different. It's kind of like a contrast to Obamacare, but it's not a government-funded program, and people have been asking about it. Bill O'Brien, he's here at 8:50 to talk about that. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. So there's our 23-year-old producer, Hannah, 23-year-old conservative independent. I love it. How are you today?
I'm doing all right.
By the way, when it comes to age, and I'm okay with politicians being younger. This occurred to me over the weekend. You know who shouldn't be younger than me? The dude flying my airplane. These pilots nowadays, how young, and I don't know, maybe dudes older than me, people older than me have already experienced this stuff, but as I'm getting in my 50s, it's just weird when I see, it's like these kids are flying 737s, man.
As you're getting into your 50s, I think you've been there.
You're right, though, and I've had that same experience. If you recall, at one point we had 2 missed landings in Columbia. We came down. We were very close. It was when the runway was shortened, and I ended up in Des Moines. And when we landed, the pilot comes out, and he looked so young. And I told my husband, I was like, a man would have put that plane on the ground in Columbia, Missouri.
By the way, we have a text, 874-9390. Michael says there's a couple of protesters down in Ashland.
Are we sure about this?
I hope this is true. I so hope this is true.
A couple of protesters down in Ashland by the high school and the pool with a giant blow-up rat.
Are they protesting or are they selling something?
I don't know.
Probably a union thing. If you see giant inflatable rats, that's usually can be a union protest.
You see UPS, they've avoided a strike, so you're going to get your Amazon packages.
Thank goodness.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
John Marsh is here.
Yup.
There's Brian Houseworth. My name is Branden Rathert, 874-9390, 874-9390. Protesters down in Ashland by the high school. If you know what that is, let us know. 874-GIANT-RAT. Eric Greitens is back in the news. We're going to be talking about him. But first, we have a new police chief here in one of our mid-Missouri towns.
We do. Ashland had a special meeting last night. Most of the special meeting was conducted in closed session. However, there was a vote after closed session to choose Lieutenant Alan Scott Young. He goes by Scott. So Lieutenant Young as the interim chief of police.
And he said something to our news partners at ABC 17 last night, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like what he had to say. So what did you guys, obviously, Stephanie Bell, besides being an attorney with Ellinger Bell and owning the trolleys in downtown Jefferson City, she's a mom and a wife and all that stuff. She was also an elected servant. She's on the board of Older Woman in Ashland. What did you guys talk about in the closed session?
Can't say.
All right, just check it out.
But I will say I did have an opportunity to meet Lieutenant Young. I'm excited about, seeing his work going forward and some of the things that he has said publicly. And he's a person that's familiar with Mid-Missouri. He has most recently been the CPD SWAT training coordinator and has a long list of awards and accomplishments. He's a high-power rifle champion, and so he's really an expert in firearms and has, according to his resume, has all the experience that we would need for someone to just come in and on an interim basis and serve as the chief. So.
Before I highlight what he said last night, because I thought it was really cool, I got to ask, I already know the answer, but I'm just making sure it's on public record. What happened with Gabe Edwards, former police chief in Ashland?
Yeah, can't say. Closed meeting.
I had a question, Steph.
Sure.
What about the involvement of the Boone County Sheriff's Department as kind of the primary, I don't know if response agency is the right thing, but kind of running the show down there? Is there a time frame for this to segue over to the interim chief?
My understanding is Lieutenant Young will be there today, so it's a pretty quick transition.
874-9390, 874-9390. So the interim police chief, Mr. Young, chatting with our news partners, ABC 17 last night.
Hopefully, I can bring just some stability, and we can serve the citizens of Ashland well with a good police department. And at this point, I can't give you any specifics on anything I'm going to be doing because I've got a lot to learn first. I'm the new guy.
I like that. He's like, I can't comment on what I'm going to do. I'm the new guy. He's just real simplistic. I'm the FNG. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to do my very best, and I came recommended anyway. So, and I want to highlight some first responders. This was Lake of the Ozarks yesterday. Apparently some folks in a boat. They're all okay, so that's why I'm giggling a little bit, because I see the visual here. Apparently they were hanging onto the side of the boat, and this boat was just running around in circles while they're all clinging. Probably not funny at the time, but a couple of dudes on jet skis. I saw some firefighters on the banks, and the dudes gave some rides to firefighters on the jet skis, and they went and saved the folks. So I want, because those are some of the things. Matter of fact, there was an event yesterday in Columbia, and one of the speakers who I've invited to be on the show this morning, James Gray, is very good when he gets into the work of what happens in some of these crime-ridden neighborhoods. But he called out the media yesterday, this according to Brian Houseworth here, saying, our local media needs to highlight more positive stories. And I think, as a matter of fact, we dedicate an entire day to positive stories here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Every Friday, we do Feel Good Fridays. But I wanted to highlight that story and highlight some of our first responders.
We do highlight some losers on Friday.
We do winners, and we do them all. Eric Greitens, I don't know what column you would put him in.
We're not talking about him on a Feel Good Friday, that's for sure.
So is he trying to get back into I guess it would be, we wouldn't, John, would you be surprised if Eric Greitens tries to make another comeback into politics?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it would be very successful.
No, I don't think it would be either. I think people as a whole, they're just ready to move on from all of that craziness, not just as it surrounds Greitens, but a lot of the other folks. So he wrote a column, and this is in, I guess, kind of like a Trump-heavy blog post or something. But he wrote a column. It's called "Accept It Already, DeSantis is Done." And he might be right there. But I just thought this was interesting, and I think it's interesting because it shows a lot of politicians. They say the talking points. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're talking about. They just say it because you're a politician and that's what you're supposed to do. He says DeSantis is the pick of the establishment. I don't understand that reasoning. You're saying he's the pick of the establishment, but he is nowhere near the establishment. Can you say Trump is an establishment candidate now? He wasn't 6 years ago. Is he an establishment candidate? He's served as president. He's been in the spotlight since he's been out of office. Isn't Trump the establishment candidate?
I don't know that he will ever be the establishment candidate.
So I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing he said is Eric Greitens writes in this article. He says the campaign is fueled by their money, their airwaves, or their henchmen. Sure, it's fueled by their money. 10 minutes ago, Stephanie just did a big story about the DeSantis campaign and money.
Yeah, they are. The money's not as good as they wanted, and they've shed almost 30 people.
And that's all recent. So they've dropped 30 different salaries. So I don't think the money is there, like Mr. Greitens is saying. In the run-up to the 2022 U.S. Senate elections, Greitens, more than any other candidate in the crowded field, of course, he latched himself to Trump. He didn't even get out of the primary. And then, of course, we saw what happened with the red wave of 2022 that never materialized because these people attached them to Trump. As a matter of fact, there's a Trump pollster who has said, listen, and this guy's a pollster for Trump. He said in these battleground districts, DeSantis is beating Trump.
I mean, Trump is about to employ a whole bunch of people on his campaign. You know, we know like McCloskey rode around on a bus, in the last one, talking to people. And, I don't know who would hire Greitens after all of this. I don't know what the guy's doing now, but this sounds kind of like a job application for the Trump campaign.
Amen. Some other things that are happening this morning. We've talked about this new interim police chief in Mid-Mo, and Stephanie, as an elected servant in Ashland, feels really good about this. ACLU meddling in Missouri's business as it relates to transgender surgeries. And the Missouri River Regional Library wants more of your tax dollars. They're going to be joining us 7:35 to make their case for that. Coming up just a few minutes from now, have you been paying attention to mid-Missouri gas prices? Unfortunately, Stephanie Bell.
Yikes.
Yeah. 5 minutes from now. But some ways maybe that you can hold on to some of your money. We'll do that about 5 minutes from
earnings, and markets are fully pricing in a 25 basis point rate hike.
Dow up almost 27 points yesterday. Morning Bell. Stephanie's going to look at our futures coming up at 8:25 in the Morning Bell.
Does the name Sam Altman ring a bell? It didn't for me this morning, but he's the CEO of your favorite friend.
My favorite friend.
Your favorite robot friend.
My favorite robot friend, Sam Altman.
That sounds concerning, but...
So is what I hear you saying is I'm going to have to stick around until 8:25 to figure out what it is that you are talking about.
I'll tell you who he is. He's the CEO of OpenAI, which is the people who do ChatGPT, but he's out with a new product. So if you like ChatGPT, you're going to have a new tech crush.
Yay. More things to fill up my busy schedule. I'll tell you, some of that AI stuff is starting to get, I don't want to use the word scary because everyone, this technology has the ability to do this and it could do this. I don't buy into that. It's still people that operates and uses it. You have AI that's available to you. It's not up to the people who develop the AI. You can't blame them. It's whoever's using that stuff.
And last week we talked to Raven Harrison about the use of AI in elections, which I kind of, but like I hadn't really sat and thought about it. And now I'm thinking, yikes.
Yeah, there's some really dark things happening with that. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. We're going to bum you out some more now. Have you been paying attention? Sorry, John, not my intent. Man, I know. Have you been paying attention to gas prices, Marsh?
Yes.
Yeah, Steph?
Yes, maybe you'll be able to use ChatGPT to fill out your gas tax return, refund.
Oh yeah, don't forget.
There you
go. You can do that now. Cheapest gas right now in Missouri is in Washington County. Washington County, kind of almost southeast Missouri. That's at $3.14 a gallon according to AAA of Missouri. But that's not what's happening here in mid-Missouri.
Well, California was just at $3.14 maybe a week and a half ago. It wasn't very long at all.
It's so high, even I said something to Brandon about it yesterday when I drove. I thought, are we back at, is it really? It's that's the number?
15-cent jump in one day.
And I know we've gotten some questions. What exactly is causing it? I read, or I don't know that do we know?
I don't know if it's summertime. I saw two different things. One is, it's summertime. Well, we've been in summer for a while and have been relatively okay, and I think one of the other arguments as well, but then you get into the middle of the season and reserves, and it's stuff that, frankly, I'd love to sit here and tell you everything I know about it. I don't know a whole lot about it. I would just be lying to you, and I'm not going to do that. But what I do know is I'm going to the pump, and in places, as a matter of fact, one of the highest prices in the entire state of Missouri, Cole County.
Of course.
More expensive than Cole County? Callaway County, $3.47 a gallon. Montauk's right up there, $3.46.
Yeah, it is.
I saw $3.49.9 this morning driving in.
That's great. So
I thought we had gotten away from, with all of Bidenomics and he's saving us and he's curing cancer and all that. I thought we had gotten away from $3.50 gas.
Brandon, I am
time
curious.
To buy your electric vehicle.
Brandon, I'm curious. We make fun of you a lot for the fact that you don't get out a whole lot. You just you go to the same places every day. You have a circle that you go in and then you go home.
Life, yeah.
How often do you have to fill up?
Let's see. So I get my tank. I get about maybe 300 miles per tank on a 22-gallon tank, by the way. I love driving by little Priuses with those stickers that say, I'm for climate change. And you know what I like more than that? And I saw this yesterday. I wanted to take a picture. I love people that drive a gasoline-powered car, and they have a bumper sticker that says, I'm for climate change. Well, how come you're driving an internal combustion engine, man? My goodness.
Because they can't afford an EV.
Yeah, I can't afford it. So probably...
They're expensive.
Yeah, once a week, typically 60. So yeah, about $250 a month for gasoline in a very small circle of life. 874-9390. We go to Jefferson City where we find Tom. Tom, we got 30 seconds for you, buddy. What's on your mind as it relates to gas prices?
Monday, I was in St. Peter's. I bought gas. There are 3 stations for $3.12. One particular station, Hucks, if you have a membership, which is basically putting your phone number in, you get a 10-cent discount. It was $3.02, and I'm sure it's probably still there. Anyway, thank you so much.
Tom, we appreciate you being a part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Coming up, Fox News is here getting ready for Hunter Biden to appear in
the president. They haven't found it. And now it's like, we'll impeach, details to be determined. To quote the great Logan Roy, these are not serious people.
Leon Panetta served in the Obama administration, served in the Clinton administration, saying, we shouldn't be impeaching Mr. Biden. There's nothing there. He went on to say, and this is hurtful to the country. So that was him last night. Here's Leon Panetta, CNN, November of 2019, when we talked about the impeachment of President Trump.
We've had the Republicans stumbling around like so many Inspector Clouseaus for a year and a half.
Actually, that's the same audio. But no. To err is human. To really follow things up, that requires a computer. But I will tell you this, November 2019 on CNN, Leon Panetta, when it came to the impeachment of Trump, totally different tune. Yes, we need to do this. Last night, he's going, well, it's bad for the country. We don't have all the facts. And, of course, Trump, we know what happened in those impeachment trials. Well, apparently they didn't have the facts then either. Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com, does a lot of stuff with Fox. What's the double standard here? What's going on?
Oh, I don't even know that it's a double standard, Brandon. This sounds to me like my kids' liberal logic of, my eyes are closed, so my room is clean, right?
Yeah.
I can't see anything, so, the room's clean, Mom got this. This is exactly, if they didn't have a double standard, they wouldn't have any at all. This is exactly what Leon Panetta said in 2019. It was an imperial mandate to impeach Trump. And now that it's Biden, I can't believe he actually said they can't find anything. You're talking about, you mean other than the laptop and the blow in the White House, they couldn't find anything. They can't, the bribery, the $17 million in receipts going to Hunter for just being an awesome person.
Yeah, and wink, wink. And all of this prior to Hunter Biden's making a court appearance today. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert. That's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Mr. Brian Hausworth is here.
Good to see you.
There's producer Anna.
Hello.
Marsh, what's up, bud?
Good morning.
My name is Branden, 874-9390. Our guest, Raven Harrison. Great website, RavenHarrison.com. Does a lot of stuff with Fox, joining us on the show now. So Hunter Biden making a court appearance this morning. And here's why I think the tide is changing on this. CNN, MSNBC, they're all starting to cover this a little bit because Fox has been doing this for a while. And a lot of folks, and I think rightly so, I was in that camp too, like, hey, you got to give us some. Now they're starting to come forward with stuff. But Raven, do you get that sense that, and I'm honest when I say this, I really do mean that. I really do feel like people are going, huh? And I say that because, again, CNN, USA Today, Covenant. Do you get that same sense?
Well, yes, because we have to. It's working. That's what I was telling people is, justice dies in the dark. So you got to carry a big flashlight. If they're not going to cover it, we're going to cover it. I talk about it on my podcast. We talk about it nonstop. We cannot allow these politicians to keep doing what they do, which is basically sweeping it under the carpet and trying to move on to the next crisis. Unfortunately, with this administration, it is literally like you can feel the holes in the dam bursting. There is first they said the laptop was misinformation. Now it's real. Then it's bribery. Now it's the Burisma thing. We all saw the tape of Joe Biden years ago saying that this guy was going to be fired and he was going to hold up billions of dollars. They did nothing. So all of these things now are coming to roost, and they're having a really hard time sweeping all of these, under the carpet. Even the press secretary, just pitiful of going, hey, is it Hunter's blow? That's an irresponsible question. I said, well, then irresponsibly answer it.
Boom.
Is it his? I think the Secret Service is the only one who doesn't know whose it is. And now he's going to plead to some bogus charge. People have gotten years in prison for what he's getting ready to get a slap on the wrist for.
And I'll tell you,
outrage every American.
And it should. And the most frustrating part in all this, KJP yesterday at the White House, Raven Harrison, for example, the stuff happening in Florida, they're saying, oh, this is horrible. You're erasing history. It teaches slavery was good. We featured audio yesterday of Dr. William Allen, former U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, member of Florida's African American History Standards, helped put those slavery teachings together in Florida. And he's like, and he was very polite when talking about Vice President Harris yesterday. He said, well, she is incorrect. in what she's saying. But KJP and Kamala Harris, all these people, they go on to the TV, they stand at the White House podium, Raven, and they lie. They flat out, they just lie. And there's people that's not quite as intelligent as all of us hanging out here this morning, and they're just eating this stuff up with a big old ladle. And, oh, whoa, yeah, did you see racism in Florida, and Joe didn't do anything wrong. How do we overcome that?
Well, I tell people you can add years to your life by turning the TV off. Okay, that's the first. And I tell people that, and they say it, and it always raises eyebrows. But I don't watch mainstream media for the same reason I don't drink out of the toilet. Okay, I don't get my news sources. People have got to stop letting people spoon feed them. This is how gaslighting works. When you can see with your own eyes, Joe Biden telling you that this record inflation is good. You know, I mean, I've heard Kamala say that. This is, good. And Pelosi made a comment the other day that the Biden's economy is this record inflation and supply chain issues and crippling life support our economy is on is all good. The reason people don't know it is Biden hasn't told them yet. I mean, that is like, I'll take word salad for 200, Brandon. This is what we're talking about, is stop allowing these people to spoon and tell you that you're looking outside, that the sky is purple, not blue. That's exactly what they're doing.
And I would think,
saying, hey, don't look at what you're seeing. Listen to us.
And I would think
what we're doing.
Everybody listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri this morning, I hope that you're having these conversations in a polite way with coworkers, relatives that think, oh, Joe Biden's doing... Politely tell them, look at other stuff. Really look for the facts, and don't necessarily go to Fox, but just go to everything. And it's so sad that we have to do that we have to go and double check what's being said on news outlets like CBS and CNN, and that they lie and that they know they're lying. But the most disturbing part then is people watch this stuff, they believe it, they don't do their own homework, and then they go and they vote for people like Joe Biden. Raven Harrison hanging out with us this morning. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Hannah has a question.
Hey, Raven. I know that, Biden has obviously been problematic for the last couple of years. Hunter Biden, we could also label as problematic. But I think there's a new problematic member of the Biden family, and it's Commander. So who would you say is the most problematic member between those three? You got Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Commander Biden, the German Shepherd.
Well, I was glad because I remember when he had one named Major, and my son's name is Major, so we're not going to go there. But I would definitely take Hunter for the win. But I tell people, Hannah, it's awesome because Joe Biden said Hunter Biden's the best person he knows, and that explains a lot. The problem we have is I tell people don't. If before you make any decision on Joe Biden, go check your 401k, go to the grocery store, fill up your tank. Okay, and then you can turn on your news and see that the border is wide open. But I tell people these are the kitchen table issues that are going to crumble, America. As an economy, it's on life support. But I'm telling you all of this drama and that Hunter Biden has in and out access to the White House, it's just become, a travesty of what's going on there. But I tell people, instead of listening what you see on TV, just go check your 401k, see what it's valued at, see if the trajectory is up or down. That takes kind of the sentiment out of it and puts it in real time for everybody, because this is an issue that affects every single one of us. And this guy is a dumpster fire. He's literally tripping over air. At this point.
Where are you at on DeSantis with the big news out yesterday that he's shedding staff? We had our former disgraced governor say that he's done for. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that I've been calling this as a strategist. You have to keep a very open mind and look at things very objectively and judge it dispassionately. And I said this in the beginning. His messaging strategy out of the gate was horrible. How are you going to compare yourself to Trump and then attack Trump? That is a horrible messaging strategy. Then he's been, kind of putting himself at arms. And then the strategy is, well, then I'm not Trump. And, everybody should pick a side. So I think that the campaign is stalling because people want what Trump has already done. This is not about who he is as a person. It's about what real Americans are facing. at the pump, at the grocery store, with their 401ks. And Trump has already demonstrated he could deliver those things. A low, a thriving stock market, low unemployment, and a secure border. And we need those. We got 7 million to 9 million people that have been let in under Biden, and it affects every walk of life. So we are less safe. Our enemies are having a field day. I'm surprised Putin hasn't accidentally hit the nuke button by laughing so hard that we're tolerating this.
By the way, and this, I think, goes back to one of the problems that we've already been talking about. You talk about these facts. Look at your 401k. What's happened? We know that NATO says Russia invading Ukraine, that was because of Joe Biden. We've played the audio hundreds of times here on the show. People could look, if people were to look at all these facts, or if our news outlets, other than Fox and some other select few outlets, if they would highlight this stuff, these facts. So it goes back to our original point that people are just taking whatever it is they see on the news, and they're not looking for themselves at things like, hey, have you looked at your retirement? Are you seeing these things? And here's the other thing I wonder about Biden. Biden's supposed to be rainbows and unicorns and let everybody into the country and love everybody, whatever gender you think you are, all this love and family stuff, yet he won't acknowledge his youngest granddaughter. To the point, this is becoming such a point. He's supposed to be this good family man, right? Rainbows and unicorns. When I think of my 3 grandkids, yeah, I think rainbows and unicorns. So Joe Biden is a hypocrite when he talks about love and all this, won't acknowledge his own granddaughter. As a matter of fact, USA Today did a big story where they were talking to potential Biden voters in Philadelphia about this, and a lot of folks going, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I thought Joe was love and unicorn, but won't acknowledge his own flesh and blood. Raven Harrison. RavenHarrison.com does a lot of stuff for Fox. And I know you've been, and I'll ask you again here, I know you've been working for a while. You're trying to make your way to mid-Missouri. Do we have any progress on that?
Yes, we're looking at like the third week of August. We're going to be up in your area. So still on schedule.
All right. Well, you let us know, and we'll make sure we all hook up. Raven Harrison, please go to her website, RavenHarrison.com. You like her stuff here on the show, do it now. Go check out her website. We appreciate you, Harrison. Raven, we'll chat with you next week.
Sounds great.
Coming up, we're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah.
I was able to find another animal story.
Yay. It's been too long, hasn't it?
It's been a couple weeks.
What's Hot with Hannah? Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:25.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know what makes me nervous when you guys start giggling right before the microphones come on?
Can I go behind the scenes a little bit? And if you're watching, watch the show. Seriously, we're always encouraging you to do. We mean it because you get a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and we've been getting people over the past couple of years saying it's kind of interesting. And here's, like, let's say there's a cleaners in Columbia, and they say, you know, it's a counter. People walk up and get their stuff, and we have a TV in the weight room, and people are just popping us up on the YouTube, and they're watching the show. So if you're watching, you would know we're kind of all, Hannah sits in a studio across from the rest of us, and Hannah cannot necessarily always hear everything that Steph and I are talking about.
Nope, because you guys are shady and like to turn your microphones off, so I can't eavesdrop.
But you know what else is interesting? Every time, like, we're in commercial break, and to watch all you, John, I see you too, brother. All y'all texting, and I'm not in your group text. And you guys have
not trying to scratch inappropriately.
Right. But I've always thought, you know, because I thought, you know, what would be cool? It'd be cool to do a roast. Do it for charity. And people say, well, what would we say about you? And I want to say, well, everything you guys type in your group text, just use that in the roast. All right, what's hot with that? Everything you guys are saying about me in text, just use that in the roast.
It's always nice things, Brandon. Come on. You know, I'm continuing the saga of animals doing weird stuff. And this is actually animals in the wild, which I think might be the first time. I know most of the stories revolve around zoo animals and how they've either escaped or they've acted really weird. But these are animals in the wild, and they're sharks. And this is one of the things, I actually saw this on Fox News, and the Chiron read something about cocaine sharks.
Saw that.
And I had to immediately Google it because I had to make sure it was a legit thing. And turns out it is. Scientists have found a bunch of sharks in, like, the Key West area that have been acting really weird. So different species of sharks that normally would avoid humans are coming up to humans. There's some sharks that they've observed just swimming in a circle for, you know, a very long period of time.
I've seen a lot of these sharks just imitating Hunter Biden mostly.
Yeah.
Or like they're in line at a dispensary or something.
Well, dispensary, yeah, pretty close. But no, scientists are theorizing that these sharks are ingesting bales of cocaine that have been dumped overboard by drug traffickers, I guess, and it's starting to get to the sharks a little bit.
So, and this is something that's been going. When I lived in Pensacola, once in a while you'd get bales of cocaine that would wash up, like in Destin or Fort Walton. Every once in a while you get. But there had even been talk like 10, 15 years ago. People started thinking, we think the sharks might be getting into some of these bales of cocaine. And I can't wait for the movie. If you've not seen Cocaine Bear, it's dumb, it's bad, it's horrible, and you should see it.
And now the sequel, Cocaine Shark.
Well, it's actually Shark Week on Discovery, and I think they're doing a documentary about this.
Cocaine sharks.
The scientists actually tested. They threw a powdery bale overboard and watched the sharks get it, and yeah, it went everywhere in the water.
But they don't have hands. How do they hold the straw to snort that stuff?
Oh boy.
They rub it on their gums.
I don't know as much plastic is in the ocean. There might be one floating around.
Handy. By the way, speaking of animals, we had a listener about an hour ago. Apparently, there was a giant
Going to miss. The throw to second. Runner coming home. A strike to the plate late. Donovan steals home.
Brendan Donovan, St. Louis Cardinals doing something that doesn't happen very often, stealing home base. And you think usually you steal home, you're going to win the game. But when you're the St. Louis Cardinals, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to you because you have a bullpen that just, boom, implodes on your leads. Cardinals lose, Royals lose, but still kind of cool. Something. Well, remember Brendan Donovan? He stole home plate this summer. Remember that? That's what we've got. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Love my Cardinals, man. There's Stephanie Bell.
What?
There's Stephanie Bell.
Oh, good morning.
That's you. And check this out. Check out what's coming up later on the show.
Anti-mask here at Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Up next, we will have Miranda Lambert.
Miranda Lambert's coming on the show.
Sweet.
There's producer Hannah.
Huh?
You.
Me?
You,
oh,
Hannah.
hi.
Marsh, you good, bud?
Huh?
You? That's you, John. Me, Brandon.
You're usually looking at me or something. I was...
Welcome into the show.
Ready.
You know, sometimes it's one of those days. You have one of those days listening, 7:37. You're going into work. It's already like 99 degrees. It's up to 102 today. And you're going, just one of those days. Maybe it's just one of those days.
I'm also on heightened alert because, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about. So I'm afraid you're going to ask me a question.
Stephanie, we would never ask you a question about something we know that you can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So is Hunter Biden gets ready to go into a courtroom today. More talk about impeachment of Joe Biden. Stephanie Bell, who obviously she's an older woman in the town of Ashland. Ashland has a brand new interim police chief, former cop at the Columbia Police Department. Sounds like a really good dude. And last night there was a meeting. Stephanie obviously being a part of that meeting, and she said we had closed session, then had regular meeting and voted. And so I asked very surreptitiously, but she was on to me. My question was, and what did you guys say in the closed meeting?
No comment.
And that's where we are now. Welcome into the show. Some other things happening locally. Missouri River Regional Library, Proposition Library. It's an increase to the library's operating levy to renovate and expand the main library in Cole County and increase collections, things like that. And I would think kind of an odd time right now with a lot of talk surrounding libraries. So I want to welcome into the show a couple of guests this morning. I want to bring in Natalie Newville, Missouri River Regional Library, and also joining us on the show, Library Director Claudia Young. Want to welcome both of you into the studio. So what's your ask, Natalie?
Yeah, so on August 8th, there is Proposition Library on the ballot, and we are asking for an increase in our levy. So we're going from 20 cents to 35 cents per $100 evaluation. We've not had an increase since 1964, so we've been doing a great job with what we have, and it's time to expand to really help our community.
Claudia, talk to us about the average addition that would put on the tax bill for people in Jefferson City and Cole County. It's not insubstantial.
That is true. We at the library feel that it's fairly modest, though, given a number of factors and the potential to really do some wonderful things for Jefferson City and the Cole County community at large is great. I did the math. There's a pretty complicated mathematical equation involved. You can find it on our webpage, www.mrrl.org election. Of course, it's also on the Cole County website. And for instance, for my own home, it'll be $86, I think, and 65 cents. It will go up that much. You mentioned on some information that you shared out with your listeners that the average tax amount would be $70. So if you think about what you spend on lunches and streaming services and various things, I think that puts it into perspective.
I will say I think the library is great. Having small kids, I spend a lot of time in there, especially when my kids are really little. And obviously, my job entails a lot of research. So having, a place I can go is important to me. I know a lot of folks in downtown are concerned about the homelessness at the library and in the park. Obviously a new facility would be nice, but it doesn't address that problem. What's the library doing to address that problem now?
We understand that concern. And I will tell you that we had a rough winter at the library, and things happened that we weren't comfortable with. We spoke up about it. Several of our staff, including myself, are on committees. For instance, the Homelessness Task Force Committee, the Unhoused Solutions Committee, and we've made partners, and with downtown churches especially. But attending those groups, we spoke up and said, look, we can't handle this. We're librarians. We want to provide library service. We're not social workers, and these folks need some services and need help, and we can't provide it. And it's overwhelming at times for us. And so the church has really stepped up. One church in particular, the United Methodist Church, bought lockers and filled a room with lockers. So the unhoused population had a place to put things, because we certainly couldn't accommodate them. We have space issues as it is. And they also, this group, when I say they, had a big part in the First Christian Church stepping up and deciding to open a day shelter. Now, it's not open yet. The plans are to open it in the fall. But I think all that talk, all that concern, that sort of thing, resulted in their decision to open a day shelter. It used to be the preschool space, and they want to convert it and have showers and laundry services, social services, things like that. And we think that will have an effect on, what you're talking about, people's concerns. Natalie and I and the library's administration and the board of trustees clearly want people to feel comfortable at the library, all people. And I want you to know that your concerns are not lost on us.
All right, our guest, Missouri River Regional Library. We're talking Prop L. Natalie Newville from the library, also Library Director Claudia Young. 2020 election. If we're looking at presidential results, 66% of the folks in Cole County, where you're asking for this 2.5% property tax increase. If we're going to stereotype and talk about 66% of the voters in Cole County voted for a Republican, obviously very conservative. Frankly, libraries not very popular right now because of the material that's carried in a lot of these libraries. How do you feel about the chances of a pretty hefty 2.5% property tax increase in a highly intelligent conservative county?
Yeah, so, nobody goes out for something like this without doing a lot of research and working with consultants and doing surveys. We have almost 20,000 library card holders who are registered voters, and those numbers are good when you look at an election. And, with all the controversy that has happened nationally, that's not really happened here locally. We're very committed to representing our community. We kind of, as saying is a good library will have something to offend everybody. But we are very aware of the things that we carry in our library. We work with our community very well. We have great relationships with people. So if there's someone that has a concern about something that's in our library or a program that's happening, they will almost always come talk to us. And, I can speak to Claudia. She does an amazing job talking to those people, having one-on-one conversations and coming to resolutions. So while public libraries have really been in the media a lot, we've not experienced that here.
And I can tell you that in the last 2 years, we've had 2 challenges. That's it.
All right, 2 challenges. So you've had some challenges. Here's what, folks, as we're doing our research here about how this could potentially come out. Gordon says some old folks on fixed income don't want any more tax hikes. Then also this text from Doug. He says this library tax is a bunch of crap. If you've been into the library, which I work right around the corner, it's rare that there's more than 10 to 15 people in there on a regular basis. Few exceptions. This is a chamber-backed mission to continue to pour money into the downtown area instead of working on real problems, which sounds like you guys have kind of acquiesced a little bit. Homelessness has been a little bit of a problem for you. We know there was a homelessness in libraries, by the way, basically 2 different issues. But that's just some of what people are saying via text this morning, 874-9390. Missouri River Regional Library, Claudia Young, Natalie Newville. Anything else that you guys would like to include before we let you go this morning?
Yes, thank you. We understand that not everybody uses the library. And we know this, and we often say to people that for a lot of folks in this community, it is a lifeline. It is a lifeline. There are people that cannot afford their reading habits. They don't have computers and printers and access to training and things that we have for free. And I just like to remind those who say, oh, nobody needs a library anymore. Everybody's got a phone. They're walking around with it. They can get everything on the internet. That there's so much more to libraries than people realize. We, yes, have all the literacy things that you would expect, story times, books on our shelves, digital resources. We contribute to the economic vibrancy of this community in many ways. We are partners with so many organizations in town. We show up. We bring our bookmobile. We bring our big games. We bring our trainers. We also are a place for all people to connect and socialize and do things. We have such a robust lineup of programs for all ages, and I want people to know those things. That the library, there's a lot of potential for one to become their best selves at the library still. And I'm old school. I've been in the library 27 years. I still believe the public library is the people's university.
All right,
and that hasn't changed.
Natalie Newville, Claudia Young, talking about, and not everybody has books and internet, and I agree with those assessments. However, it's not my responsibility to help fund that stuff for people that can't do it. We appreciate you guys coming in this morning to visit us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio. 950 KWOS coming up just a few minutes from now here on the show. Have you been paying attention to gas prices? And I thought about this earlier. Raven Harrison was on the show. She's a political commentator. You see a lot of her on Fox News. And a couple of times she said the word wink. And that kind of caught my attention because that's something I have a tendency to do a lot to people I know. But there's some interesting things about winks. We're going to cover that coming up about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Going to be hot today.
earnings, and markets are fully pricing in a 25 basis point rate hike.
Dow up about 27 yesterday. We'll look at futures coming up at 8:25 in the morning bell.
And one of your favorite people, Sam Altman, who started OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT, is out with a new product.
So we're going to be covering that at 8:25 here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, producer Hannah, John Marsh, and Brian Houseworth. Interesting story. And I only thought about this. Raven Harrison, she's here every Wednesday, 7:10. Sharp take on politics. I'm serious, man. I know there's a million talking heads out there, blah, blah, blah. Raven is top notch here every Wednesday, 7:10, website, ravenharrison.com. She mentioned a couple of times, wink, wink. And there was this story about like some attorney who got in trouble for some kind of, he was in trial and was winking at somebody.
He wasn't in trial. He was like sleeping with the victims, I think. And he was making tapes when he was doing that. And so while the camera was rolling, he was engaged in making the tape and paused to wink at the camera in these tapes that came out. And now he's in trouble. I think he's going to prison. He was a Wisconsin prosecutor and I guess was like trading favors for leniency.
Like the Bidens trade political influence for money. Like
sure.
That. Okay.
But I'm like, are we surprised because people who wink are creepy and red flags anyway?
It's uncomfy.
I have never seen a woman wink.
I don't think I have either.
Have you, Hannah?
Didn't Carol Burnett wink on her show, Marsh? I thought at the end of the show, Carol Burnett
she played with her earlobe.
Could be.
So it's just like inherently, it's a thing men do, and it's never not creepy, ever.
So I don't think it's creepy at all.
Of course not.
Well, but
because you're the winking perpetrator.
But I don't wink at people I don't know. It'd be
even with people. If you winked at me, I'd be like, you have been concerned before about like a text. Oh my gosh, Stephanie was busy. I can't believe, maybe I made her mad. If you winked at me, I would say something to Hannah. I'd be like, Branden winked at me and he's creepy.
So Hannah, what about this? Like, what if we're doing the show and we hear this?
In Missouri, up next, we will have Miranda Lambert.
And I look at Hannah and I kind of wink like, it's just kind of an acknowledgement of a mistake.
Okay, that's like joking. Nah, no.
Yeah. Or winking at somebody, like, hey, so-and-so said this, but we know it's not true. And you do a little wink. Do you find that weird too?
Oh, yeah. Winking is weird. I guess if you're like over the age of 92, like you're like a cute old man and you're telling like the guy at the coffee shop who like tells funny jokes to the waitress and winks. Okay, you're excused.
See,
over,
to me, that's uncomfortable.
Not if you're super old.
Yeah, especially if you're super old and you're winking at the waitress at the coffee shop while you're telling dirty jokes. That's a little weird.
Excused. No. But like people who are just like, and then wink, I think like, we have an inside joke.
So somebody
it's so creepy.
Joe Biden's age could wink at you, and you're okay with that because
not
of the age.
Joe Biden in particular.
No, I mean, I do think winking is a little creepy. It's not something I would ever get all up in arms about or like go report to HR or anything like that, but it does give me half a second of ugh.
Well, here's the other thing, and I think women, they get really arrogant. Seriously, because I think, a guy winked at, he must want me. He's being flirtatious with me, which is very arrogant, very self-involved.
It's not even that. Like, I just think, I don't know.
It gives me the ick.
874-9390 if you're a female. Somebody you know, do we want to parse this out? Like if it's somebody you know and they wink at you, do you think that's weird? Do you think winking is weird? It'd be interesting to hear.
It's never not weird.
So I figured this out, Hannah. You know who the most famous winker. The most famous winker. John, who's the most famous wanker?
I'm not getting involved in that one.
The most famous winker.
Who?
In the world.
Branden, your face is red.
Popeye.
Santa Claus. Guess who Stephanie does not like? Guess who freaks out Stephanie?
Creepy.
Santa Claus.
I stand by my position. Winking is creepy.
Should I have hit the dump button for that?
874-9390. Do you think winking is creepy? Good morning.
It is.
what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you. Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We end cancer as we know it.
And Newsweek is upset at Stephanie for playing that clip to open up Wake Up Mid-Missouri this morning. Welcome into the show. We'll tell you why they're upset. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's John Marsh.
Yes, sir.
Producer Hannah is here.
What up?
My name is Branden Rathert. Brian Houseworth is here, too. If there was something we can do for you, 874-9390. A couple of things we've been working on for you this morning. Got a couple of calls, a couple of texts this morning about apparently some giant inflatable rats, or at least one giant inflatable rat in Ashland. This was like 6:30 this morning.
Yeah, we've gotten, I think, one or two more reports of it from other Wake Up family members since then.
And apparently, rats, and Houseworth, your dad was Pipe Fitters Union for a long time.
Bricklayers
Union.
Yes, local.
So rats apparently something that's used when folks are wanting like labor negotiations or something like that. And apparently it's grounds from one of the texts. This is just what we're getting on text, but apparently like grounds crews or something, Hannah, is what the texter was saying. Maybe going on strike.
Yeah, maybe a contracting crew that was doing a job for the school.
Oh, no.
It would be interesting.
The football stadium is currently underway. I mean, that's what's over there is the new football stadium.
Yeah, and I'm unaware of what I saw the inflatable rat a couple weeks ago. They had a similar one at downtown City Hall in Columbia, and that was the laborers union. Various unions do it. I'm not aware of what's happening in Ashland, but it could be something that they're protesting a particular project. But it generally is. It could be that they believe they're non-union workers doing it. It could be that they believe the contract is unfair. They will use the term scabs to describe non-union workers, a lot of unions, but again, without knowing the specifics. But you'll be able to see it, I'm sure. It's probably pretty visible, I'm sure.
I was going to say, we got a text from Michael at 874-9390, and it's a screenshot of a Facebook post of somebody asking, hey, what's going on? And a couple of the comments, one person says, my boss's husband is up there, and she said they're on strike about a contracted job regarding the school. And again, these are just Facebook comments. We haven't had a chance to fact check these. Another lady said, my husband just told me it's about Mid-Missouri construction workers being underpaid.
It would be, I think, probably more number two, but it could be number one and number two there. But again, a lot of times those will be resolved, but they'll do that. You don't see that as much, but
so they're saying it's about them being underpaid. It's about them trying to go on strike. That's what it is. They're trying to soften it up.
Or they probably want a better contract offer.
They want a raise. Yeah.
As a way back when I was a young guy, former union guy, yeah, the rat is what was referred to as if you were on strike and they'd bring in non-union workers to staff a job. They were rats or white paper trash. It was another union.
That's what they would say. But, they also had that rat out in front of Columbia City Hall, John, just maybe 2 weeks ago when I was there for DeCarlin's address, DeCarlin Seawood. And they did not replace the workers with non-union. They were trying to prove a point.
So,
but your point is well taken. That's exactly right too.
Keeping an eye on that for you this morning. So there are some pretty impactful things happening. Alejandro Mayorkas, Department of Homeland Security, he is testifying before a committee in the House today regarding his ineptitude at the border. Hunter Biden scheduled to make a court appearance, and McCarthy continues to say we are on track for an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. I think one of the interesting questions is going to be, and Stephanie's been very good about highlighting this. We said, can President Biden, can he be impeached? Let's say, because everything right now, I will tell you, is pointing to, him and his son Hunter. They were selling the family name for money into people like China, Ukraine, places like that. Everything is pointing that way. But if Joe Biden did that prior to him being president, can he still be impeached for that? And I think that's one of the things they're looking at. But it may not be that. It's the lies that he has been telling. If they do indeed prove to be lies, no, I didn't do anything with my son. No, I didn't make money off my name. It could be the lies about that, potentially.
Well, I think that is ultimately what could take Biden down in the eyes of the public. in that. And most people in the past that have been really gone down for something have gone down for the cover-up, the lying. That's what really typically tends to get people. And so Biden, and I don't think he's done sworn testimony, but to the public, he has said, and during the campaign, he said, I didn't even talk to the guy. I had nothing to do with him. And now they've changed the narrative because I think yesterday, KJP, it's no longer that he didn't talk to Hunter, it's that he wasn't in business with Hunter, which is something very different than he didn't have any talk. He didn't talk to the guy. It's just, well, maybe I did talk to him, but I wasn't, in business with him. That is a significant change in what the administration has been saying about Biden and Hunter specifically. And that I think only happened yesterday. So I think, if it comes out, apparently this testimony is supposed to be that he was on like 20 phone calls or meetings or whatever and was actually involved. It makes a lot of those statements he said initially false. And I think that in the eyes of the public is not going to be good for the Bidens.
And then pictures of Hunter at his dad's house on the day that supposedly Joe Biden was in the room with Hunter Biden while he was on a phone call with a high-powered Chinese businessman. He was at his dad's house the day that happened. Things continue to point towards that. Let's do a fact check. And I know we're only minutes into the show here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, but we got to do a fact check here.
That's why, and we can. We ended cancer as we know it.
So we didn't end cancer as we know it. Newsweek is mad at us.
They're what does their article even say? Did Joe Biden say he ended cancer? Read the full transcript. And they said he meant to actually say something. And they're like, these conservatives are picking on every word he says. Well, no joke. He's the president. We are allowed to listen to what he says and talk about it. But they said he actually meant to say we can end cancer. He just slurred together the words can and end.
So maybe we need to...
We end cancer as we know it. We end cancer as we know it.
So if we slow it down...
We end cancer as we know. We ended
cancer as we know it. Is that what we're hearing? And again, Joe doesn't... I don't know. He might think we ended cancer. You talk about that brain of his. He might think we ended cancer. Probably just another slip up, if we're being honest. But still, that speaks to the ineptitude in his age and why he shouldn't be president. He should be doing something else. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. By the way, listener Dwayne says he's heading back towards Ashland. He's going to find out about that inflatable rat for us.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm not sure how newsworthy it again depends on what it is. Matt Sharp would definitely know. I tend to think it could be something at the school district based on what others are saying right now.
Maybe.
The one in Columbia, I can tell you, got a lot of attention. If for no other reason, it was during his state of the city. And I'm assuming it's a very similar rat to that.
I want to go back to this Biden thing for just a second and defend ourselves from Newsweek, because the more I read this, the more it's really making me mad, because they're like, we are not allowed to parse every word he says. Maybe he just slipped up. But I think the other people besides conservatives on the radio and TV that are parsing every word he says are folks on the international stage, other world leaders. And we have known that Biden has said something, slipped up, and said something so alarming that other countries have had to respond and said, is our relationship changed? Do we have a problem with you now? And so I think, yes, we're allowed to parse every word he says because other countries are doing that too. And it has created so much conflict that other countries have responded, and then Biden has had to come back and said, well, actually, I didn't really mean that. And so, yes, it matters the words that come out of the president's mouth.
And it's not just within the political realm on an international level. It's not just that. It's like the zeitgeist. It's in their culture. This is a Sky News Australia. This is like a comedy segment on Sky News Australia.
If you were one of the president's minders, what a tough job that'd be. I mean, again, he keeps wandering off like a toddler in a mall.
So that's what they're saying in Australia about you and Brian and Hannah and Stephanie. They're not saying it about John, but they're saying about the rest of y'all.
I do think it's important to note, we talk about it all the time. He may have his issues, and I know he's fallen down literally, and the sound bites and stuff. He will still be tough to beat in the general election. There is no question. In the question you guys are talking about what he said or what was said. when we have Congressman Jason Smith or one of these congressmen on again, I'd like to ask, is there a plan to call him before the U.S. House to testify? Now, people may think, well, no president testifies. Actually, they did. President Gerald Ford was brought before by subpoena and testified before the U.S. House of Representatives. And there are people out there that would remember that. And I tell you what, you want to talk about tough questions? He did a heck of a job. And I thought he gained the respect of even the Democrats on the committee. So people say, no, presidents don't have to testify. Presidents have testified before the U.S. House. Now, will they call this particular president? That would be up to guys like Jason Smith. It wouldn't really be Graves. It wouldn't go before transportation. Could be Jason Smith. It could be Jim Jordan. Will they do that? We haven't seen it in probably close to 50 years, but it's something that could happen.
Dale.
No, you're kind of referring to the Nixon pardon, right, Brian?
Yeah, he was. He was brought before the and literally, I remember President Ford sitting at that table, no lawyer present. It was him answering questions, and they went for hours. And I thought the questions were good, but I thought President Ford did a fine job.
Dale says they parsed. So Newsweek is saying, well, people like Wake Up Mid-Missouri are parsing Joe Biden's words when he says, I guess, word. We cured cancer. Dale reminds us, they parsed every single word the previous president said. And he says, and I don't even like the previous president, and I wish we could end cancer. Cancer really sucks. Hate it. On the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page, interesting post from yesterday's show regarding weird things you've seen in the vending machine. Is this worth covering some at 8:35? Because there's some...
And why are you all going around taking photos of vending machines and just have them in your phone? Because within minutes of posting that, y'all were like, yeah, check this out.
And the other thing that we're talking about, there's a story. Some attorney was filming himself being intimate with women and wink into the camera. And Stephanie says it's a very creepy thing. And in that situation, yeah, if you're filming a woman in intimacy and she doesn't know it and you're winking at the camera.
There is never not a situation where winking is not creepy. It's always creepy.
Agreed.
And I disagree with that because
I like to wink.
Well, I do, but I would never wink at a stranger. But it would be like, somebody says something, is not true. You do that kind of, Stephanie, did you hear what Hannah said? Hannah says that she's getting married on Rosh Hashanah. Wink, like, yeah, we know she's not getting married on Rosh Hashanah. You do that little wink. 874-9390. It's one of the things folks are talking about, and it's kind of interesting because winking, it's a facial expression like smiling. If somebody smiles at you, is that weird?
I mean,
it can be.
Yeah.
Right. It's how you do it. You're exactly right. Both of you. If you smile like that's kind of weird. But if you just smile like this, so it's the same thing with the wink. It's the same thing. I think it's the intent of the smile, the intent of the wink.
Mm-mm.
And you know who the person who probably is most famous for winking? Santa Claus. You know who Stephanie doesn't like, Hannah?
You?
And Santa Claus.
Add that to my list.
Add that to the list. Morning, 8:26, time for the Morning Bell. Business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
We heard from Raven Harrison. If you want to know how the Biden administration is doing, just open up your 401k. And this morning, no better. Although the stock market has been doing, in general, over the last quarter-ish, a little bit better than it had been doing. This morning, all the futures are in the red by nearly 0.25%.
After it closed up yesterday, 27, at least the Dow did.
Yep. And your favorite business bro, whose name is Sam Altman. I always forget this guy's name, but he is the creator of OpenAI, which is the creator of ChatGPT, obviously taking the world by storm the last 6 months to a year. He is launching a new product, and it's interesting in a couple of ways. So he is, we talked about P coins yesterday. This is the world coin. It's actually a cryptocurrency, which we can get into a crypto debate. It's not had the best year with, what's the other guy? SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, obviously. But the coin isn't really different than what already exists. What is different is this digital ID project. And it's interesting because he's part of the problem with people are trying to figure out, am I dealing with a human or I'm dealing with a robot? And that's partially because of him, because AI is doing everything now. And so he's created this other product, WorldCoin, that's a crypto coin, but it is trying to ensure that the identity of the person who owns the coins. And the way that it's doing that is, and this is really, I think, kind of creepy, there's an eye scanning orb, which must be used in person and gives you a unique identity to verify that you're a human and not a robot. So not just like pick all the bicycles on the screen, are you a robot? It's an eye scanner, and it looks eerily like a magic 8-ball. Like it's not very big, but like then it's got kind of like a face on it where you can see into it, and that's where it scans your eyeball.
Does it wink at you?
I don't
Stephanie's freaked out by wings. New
But
thing we've learned about our friend.
It looks like a magic 8-ball. And so it is not legal yet in the United States, or it's not being utilized in the United States because I don't think regulators are sure how to deal with it, but it's definitely available in other countries. And apparently there are people going around with this orb saying like, sign up for WorldCoin. And as critical as I am of it and thinking, well, that's really weird, I use Clear. And how I get through the airport is I let the government sanctioned Clear scan my eyeballs. So I'm like, they've already got my whatever eye. What do they get from your eye? It's like I forget what it's called. But anyway, they've already got my eye print. It's not an eye print, but it's like a information. So I think this is interesting because he is the one that's kind of causing the problem, and now he's come up with another program to kind of solve the problem.
I'm creating problems, John, and making money there.
There you go.
But I'm making more money by creating solutions to the problems I created.
And
if you have an artificial intelligence, how do you scan its retina if it doesn't have eyes?
Exactly. And he hasn't been invited to the Elon Zuck cage match, but now that Elon's out saying, I want to create an everything app with this X, changing Twitter to X, and my app's going to do everything like China's WeChat, you have to wonder, is he threatened by this new thing by the AI guy that might, be a competitor to something that Elon's trying to do with the everything app?
Morning Bell, business news, little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you. Coming up, what folks think about winking and some of the strangest, and this is on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page, some of the strangest it's not a boycott. I'm just not buying Bud Light. Holding strong to that, Hannah. And I think they were actually talking about movies.
Now, what would Houseworth tell you? Context is important.
Yeah. I don't drink anyway. That's why. 1,066 days, as a matter of fact.
Whoop,
Welcome into the show. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
Marsh is here.
Cheers.
Hey, thank you. You want to do shots? Welcome to the show. My name is Branden Rathert. Something we do for you, 874-9390. I wanted to highlight something really quick because what was in the morning bell made me think of this. I think we're going to open up the mailbag. We've got great stuff on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page, which you should check out, and some great texts regarding winking. This guy was on Fox the other day, and he's talking about, they're talking about the Joe wants your water heater to be electric. They want you to take away your choice, electric stoves. They want you to do all this. And this guy on Fox said something kind of interesting.
The reason they want you from a gas stove to an electric stove is eventually they can control that stove. They're already doing that in some towns in California, controlling the thermostats. They can turn it down when they want to.
And people like Newsweek, who Stephanie's pointed out, is already mad at us because we're playing the audio of Joe Biden saying we cured cancer, and Newsweek is trying to say, well, you can't parse out every word that he says. Yes, we can, and we do allow sometimes he just makes mistakes. We make mistakes here when we talk, and this is what we, in effect, get paid to do. Zimmer puts a little bit of money in my bank account a couple of times a month to come and talk, and I mess up a lot. So does Joe Biden. But for Joe, it's his age. Me, it's just, I don't know. I don't even have an excuse, really.
It could be age.
It could be age. But it happens. And when you talk a lot, whenever you do anything a lot, you are going to make mistakes. But Newsweek got upset. So folks got upset that this dude, oh, gosh, the government's going to come and control your electric stove. Ha, ha, ha. Who's going to, only kooks would say something like that. How many times have we talked about stories about electric vehicles, which are basically computers? They can be hijacked. Hackers can get in and hijack that stuff. And we have electric stoves already, but not really computerized. If you think about it, that's not too far-fetched. And there is actually a program. He is accurate because I looked it up. I fact-checked it. Mm-hmm. There is a program in California. If you want, you can volunteer and tell the energy company, you control my thermostat from wherever you are in the valley. To me, that's just weird stuff. And you were talking about the eyeball recognition when getting onto certain websites.
That they can control you.
Yeah. This stuff is not too far-fetched.
Yeah,
I'm not a conspiracy theory dude.
Would you let the government take control over your thermostat in California? No, thank you. But, I mean, and there's been a lot of blowback recently about time of use rates here in Missouri because some companies are moving toward that. And that's, but it allows the consumer. It just says, hey, if you do use it during this time period, your price is going to be higher. So it's incentivizing you to, take it upon yourself to use less than. But yeah, it's not too many far steps away now that everything in your house is connected to the internet, that, the government wants more control and they want us to, not have a generator now. We can't do that. And then, what was the big dust up? And I'm forgetting the name for it, but when they throttle your internet, when you're using too much internet and then they decide, well, we're just going to reduce your bandwidth if you're using too much. And we've seen that in the past. So, I mean, it's scary stuff.
So it's not weird when somebody says something like that. Letters. All right, we don't get any letters.
I get letters.
But let's check out the mailbag anyway.
So many letters.
Because we found some texts.
A whole bunch of letters.
Some great Facebook messages.
I'd even read mail from a cow.
874-9390. 874-9390 when you get a text. It might be here in the mailbag. Let's start with, and this was a conversation started yesterday regarding vending machines. And so Hannah posted on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page, weirdest thing you've seen in vending machines. And here's what I love about this is people are including pictures. And a lot of this is stuff that's right here in Mid-Missouri.
Yeah, Gail, and we actually got a couple for this one, but Gail specifically posted a picture of a vending machine in Herman, Missouri, and it's got raw meat.
This was my favorite, specifically bacon. So, like, if in the middle of the night, if you get hungry and you're like, I really need some bacon, you go to this vending machine and pull it out. There's, like, tons of, there was a airport one that was full of, like, fake eyelashes.
Yeah, fake eyelashes. There was one that had, like, diapers and wipes and stuff for babies, which I think in an airport is probably kind of handy if you've got most of your luggage, being checked or whatever. I guess at the lake, on the Bagnell Dam Strip, there's a vending machine full of Narcan, which is kind of sad. I'd never heard that before, but I guess I'm not too surprised.
I like this. Apparently, there was ammo and earplugs in the same machine as a candy bar. I don't think they told us where exactly that one was, but then someone else said they saw ammo in a Colorado gas station.
Listener John, posted a funny picture of some clothing items stuck in a vending machine. And I said, John, there's got to be a story behind this one. Like, what the heck happened? He said he was at a work Christmas party, and one of his coworkers decided to pull a Brandy Chastain and ripped their shirts off. And another coworker got the vending machine key from the owner of the bowling alley and put this guy's shirts in the vending machine. So he had to pay to get his shirts back out of the vending machine.
That's pretty good.
Of course, beer in the vending machine at a German hospital. I liked that one. So many different interesting things, and then some helpful stuff. People are like, I work with tools, and there's tool bits in this vending machine. Other people said I've seen a vending machine with safety glasses. So.
Are we going to talk about the weird one though?
Which weird? There's
Japan,
a lot.
The Japan weird
one.
No,
Yeah.
unless you want to. You go ahead. I'm not doing it.
I mean, I've heard they're very expensive if you buy them on the internet.
Apparently in Japan, you can buy like used women's underwear in a vending machine.
That's unbelievable. We need a picture.
Well, more than one person said that. That's why I think it might be true.
No, we don't need a picture, Steph.
I need evidentiary proof.
874-9390. And this started Missouri Valley College in Marshall. And we covered this story yesterday, and we had a couple of folks from Marshall say, hey, we know the owner of this restaurant. But I guess she's got a restaurant, Missouri Valley College, and she's put a vending machine. It's a pizza vending machine. It's the very first one in the Midwest, and that's kind of what sparked this. Kind of holds like up to 97 pizzas. You go up, and they're frozen or whatever, and you put your money in, drops it into an oven, and then when it's done in the oven, drops it into a box, and out it comes. You take it, and you go home.
Yeah, I think she does all the food at Arrow Rock is what people were saying, and they were saying her food's delicious, and if her name's on this thing, that pizza is going to be awesome.
Bruce says, I just got a notification letter from Ameren, Missouri. They are beginning to install smart meters on all commercial and residential locations. So to me, that means if they need to someday, they will be able to control our thermostat. That's what Bruce is saying.
This is always a topic around this time of year that gets people up in arms. But what do you keep your thermostat on in your house?
I don't know what mine is.
You don't know?
Mm-mm. No. Steph, do you?
Oh, mine is on so low. And then it have to be cold when I sleep. So.
John, you know what yours is on?
Ours is way up there, but, when you're not home all day.
I think like 71 maybe when I sleep, 70.
So
you call that way down?
What do you keep yours at, Hannah?
So we just have a little window unit in our bedroom. We usually put it on like 67 at nighttime.
Yeah, I did get a smart thermostat, and I was kind of against it initially, but it's programmable, and I do think it's helping. So like it goes up when I leave, and then it turns back on when I need it to. It's all on a timer.
Here's what people are saying on text. Joe said yesterday that we've cured cancer. It was a stumble. It was a mistake. But it's hard to reconcile that when he lies so much.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
There's the evidentiary proof that Stephanie Bell was asking for.
Doug says, here's your used panty vending machine with a picture. Why? I want to know who is walking around. I mean, we have probably dozens of pictures of vending machines. Who's walking around just taking pictures of vending? I would have taken a picture of this one too, I guess.
I thought it was weird. The one I saw that had bananas that were overly ripe in it.
Well, this is weird though, because it's not a traditional vending machine. It's like a gumball machine that you'd put a quarter in and turn the little dial. And instead of getting a gumball, you're getting, I guess, used underwear.
I have the craziest thing I've ever gotten out of one of these machines, and I actually got it in Ashland, Missouri. Do we have time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so we were in Woody's, which is in Ashland. It's gone now, but we had just moved to Ashland, and you put a quarter in, and it was like, it had all these Easter eggs in it, and I think there was like a little chicken in there. And so, my first kid puts a quarter in, it comes out rubber bracelet, and it says like, something
Love
nice.
peace.
Yeah. Next one, something like that. The third one that comes out, a tiny Jesus head. He opens it up. It's like a bust of Jesus. There's actually a piece of paper, and it actually says like number 8, Jesus, Son of God or something. And I'm like, well, who was number 765 before Jesus? But yeah, if you've never gotten a Jesus bust out of a gas station or out of a vending machine at a bar, You're missing out.
Or a vending machine in a men's restroom at a truck stop.
No.
We don't need to go any further than that, do we?
And then Doug sends us a picture of, we got talking about winking this morning. Steph is freaked out by winking, and I think I know why. Steph also is freaked out by Santa Claus, and I think the most famous winker in the world is Santa Claus. Doug, and Doug doubles up. Sends a picture of a winking Santa Claus with ranch dressing dribbling down his chin while he's holding a puppy. Good work.
And Dwayne, the update, it's the football stadium crew, apparently with the rat that's on strike.
So in Ashland, somebody, 6:30 this morning, do you know why there's a giant inflatable rat by the high school in Ashland? Apparently some folks going on strike.
That project is already behind. Yikes.
I thought they might be changing the mascot or something, perhaps, at Southern Boone.
We're the Eagles, John. We're never changing.
The Rats.
Going to be the Southern Boone Rats.
Southern
No.
Boone Rats. Kenny says Joe cured cancer, but he can't keep gas prices down. Go figure. Ray, good morning, y'all. Sure entertaining. Appreciate y'all. Have a great day. Keep on doing what it is what you're doing. If it's Sleepy Creepy Joe smiling or winking at you, you better be careful, especially if you're under 12. Coming up.
Ooh,
man.
Yikes.
Unless he doesn't claim me as his granddaughter.
Oh, man. Points for John. 5 minutes from now, we're going to do some leftovers, some of the things that we're going to find in leftovers this morning in Boone County. Who got ARPA money?
Leftovers. Enjoy.
So we're getting ready for the Gary Nolan Show. It happens to be my dad's favorite radio show. Unless I'm not here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, then he listens to Steph and Marsh and producer Hannah. That's his favorite show when I'm not here. But Gary Nolan coming up next here on the show. Glad you could be here. Phone number is 874-9390, 874-9390. Coming up shortly, we're going to be chatting with Bill O'Brien from MyEasyMD.com. They're doing a campaign here on the radio station. And folks have been getting questions. They're like, okay, so what is this exactly? Because there's mentions when we talk about MyEasyMD.com, there's mentions of like, hey, this is better than Obamacare. This is not any kind of government program or anything like that. That's not what this is. But basically, it's a program for folks in generally good health that you can go. If you don't want to take the work insurance, whatever, you can go and you can do this. So from MyEasyMD.com, want to bring in Bill O'Brien. By the way, you call this number. Bill, can I give out your phone number here?
Yes, you may.
352, are you sure?
Absolutely.
352. 269-1246, 352-269-1246. You call Bill O'Brien, the folks at MyEasyMD. We got about 3 or 4 minutes here. Can you so we've been getting questions. Okay, so like what exactly is MyEasyMD? We say it's a better alternative to Obamacare, but it's not a government program. What is this exactly?
You know what? I really want to talk about that. And before I do, I hope you'll let me take just a quick second and say thank you for having me. And let me say I love your show and how you guys are leading the debate on what this country needs and and that we need new leadership and to start doing what's in the best interest of the American people. So good morning, Missouri, and let's get out there and vote. But better alternative than Obamacare. Most major medical plans, you're paying a very, very high premium. You're in a limited regional network of providers. You have a very high deductible. I mean, those plans are very hard to use unless you have a catastrophic, get hit by a truck or something. So most people experience that they're paying an extremely high monthly premium, and then they're shocked when they go to use the insurance. They're almost paying for everything out of pocket trying to meet the deductible. So on these plans, they don't have deductibles. They don't have co-pays. They don't have co-insurance. They are $1 benefits. You just go use the insurance, and it pays the benefits that are on the plan.
So you pay, and if you have to make a claim, the claim's getting paid. There's none of that kind of stuff.
No deductible to meet. The schedule of the dollars that are on that policy will pay. And so it's a great way for people to really get a usable plan. This plan does a fantastic job of paying those smaller claims that make up about 85% of claims under $50,000. So these plans really work fantastic, and my families love them. And we do not provide high pressure sales. We provide a no pressure, no obligation consultation to help them understand what plan you currently have and what options are available to you out there and how we can help you get better coverage and save a lot.
It's really easy. I would encourage you to at least check it out because basically it's a plan. You don't want to get into a group plan. This is a plan you choose, you manage, not the government. You can call this. Check out MyEasyMD.com if you would like to learn more. Poke around a little bit. Reasonably good health. Don't need maternity coverage. You can save 30 to 60% over Obamacare, or you can call this dude we're talking to right now, Bill O'Brien. Him or one of his team members will answer your call, 352-269-1246. Man, we appreciate you clarifying some of that stuff for us, man. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. All right. Good day.
MyEasyMD.com. Steph, you got anything for leftovers?
Well, people are all up in arms this last week over the fact that like rich kids get into Ivy Leagues more than other people, and I'm thinking, duh, we know that?
Rich people buy more Porsches than poor people like me.
Right. So I am not up in arms in that, but the Journal is also reporting this morning that parents are spending as much as $4,000 on